Information fueled.
Opinion driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
8:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Behind the scenes, I've been furiously editing audio, and I'm so excited because I've got some great audio from one of my favorites, Senator Kennedy out of Louisiana. And he's talking about what everybody's talking about and continuously is talking about, and that is USAID. And he took to the Senate floor and he called out his colleagues. Need some audio. And he calls out his colleagues for behavior like this.
We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your...
This is not Elon Musk's country. This is not Trump's country. This is our country.
No one elected Elon Musk to nothing.
We're going to fight it in the streets.
So you've got Jasmine Crockett, you've got Elizabeth Warren, you've got Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, you've got, who am I missing? Elizabeth Warren,
Jasmine Crockett, yep. Maxine Waters, and
Hakeem Jeffries. So go to YouTube and watch our YouTube feed, watch our radio show on YouTube, and take the Daily Dan poll. The question basically is, of those four, who is more repulsive? And by the way, if you want to write in a candidate, you can write it in to the super text line, which is open right now, very active today, 615-737-9986. So who is winning or losing, depending on how you look at it?
It's getting close.
Is it really?
Elizabeth Warren is at 44% now. Remember, she was at like 50 plus at one point. Maxine Waters is at 40. Jasmine Crockett and Hakeem Jeffries are not even close. But those two are just neck and neck.
Okay.
And I'm looking at the write-ins as well. I see a lot of Ilhan Omar and AOC. Those are the two that I see the most. Oh, and Schumer has actually gotten some
Chuck Schumer?
Hate/love. I don't know what to call that.
All right.
But I think it's just because he's so old, it's sad what he's yelling.
Schumer?
Yeah, it's like an old man yelling to get off his lawn, and you're just like, okay.
Here's the beer that you're not going to get anymore.
Yeah. This is what you had.
And the avocado.
Yeah, and then there goes the, and then we had to deal with the erection. You know what I mean?
A what?
Remember when he said it? Schumer said.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You know, okay, so I'm looking to see what audio I'm going to play. All I heard
was
erection. And I'm like,
isn't it funny? Because that's when he was saying that speech, everyone else heard just that. They didn't hear the rest of it. They just heard that one word. So it's got everyone's attention.
So everybody knows that Kennedy, Senator Kennedy out of Louisiana, one of my absolute favorites. And he is reiterating a point that I made about all of this crazy spending from USAID, and he had some very kind things to say about Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and some very unkind things to say about USAID.
President Trump issued an executive order, and he turned to Mr. Musk, and he said, Mr. Musk, I want you to do for me what I said I was going to do in the election. I want you to go through all the spending, line by line. Now, let me ask you something, Mr. President. How are you going to review the spending without reviewing the spending? How are you going to audit the spending by an agency without auditing the agency? That's what I mean when I say common sense is illegal in Washington, D.C. That's what Mr. Musk is doing. He's put together a crackerjack team, and they're going through everybody's spending line by line, item by item. And my Democratic colleagues are very, very, very upset.
Yes, you've heard the audio. We've all been playing. There's a number of different storylines going on. Number one, of course, is what the money was spent on. And we've all gone from, what? $20 million for Sesame Street in Iraq to, wait a minute. $20 million for Sesame Street in Iraq. There's no way that it costs $20 million to produce Sesame Street in Iraq. So where is that money really going? Seems to me like there's a lot of money laundering that is going on within USAID.
But you know what? I haven't heard one single person who's upset with President Trump or Mr. Musk talk about what he's found. They don't want to talk about the spending porn, the waste of taxpayer money that he's found. I mean, that's the point of all this.
Yep.
I tell you who is interested. The American people. The people in America who get up every day and go to work and obey the law and pay their taxes.
See, that's what I said yesterday. I played all the shrieking from all of these Democrats, and I basically asked the question, so you're screaming about Elon Musk, but you're not screaming about all of the crazy things that USAID has been spending our money on. And some of the more nefarious, of course, we all know about the DEI, the transgender, all that kind of stuff in foreign countries. We all know about that. But some of the more sinister, of course, money going to the Wuhan lab in China. There was that. There was the money that has been going to the partnership with George Soros. Of course, he is the one that installs basically all of those soft on crime district attorneys in blue cities all across America. And that has led to these blue cities becoming havens for criminals. And so it's horrifying. And so you've got Elizabeth Warren and Jasmine Crockett and Hakeem Jeffries and Maxine Waters. And you got all these people that are screaming about Elon Musk, and they should be screaming about where the money's going. Because that's what the American people are screaming about.
And many of my colleagues are upset. They're really mad at Mr. Musk. Hell, I think we ought to give him a medal. All he's doing is what President Trump said he was going to do.
Yep.
President Trump said he's going to audit the spending. So Trump goes and hires Musk, again with the top secret security clearance. Nobody can quibble with his intelligence. The guy's as smart as Einstein's cousin. He's a very successful businessman. Some say he's the richest guy in the world. And he's doing the auditing. And man, he's finding a lot of stuff. I call it spending porn.
It is kind of interesting how the more Elon Musk finds, the more upset people get. You notice that?
Only people on one side.
Yes, Joan, you're right. Only people on one side. Although I do acknowledge, and I have been saying this all along, that there is corruption on both sides of the aisle. But, it's interesting that this whole 16-minute montage by Senator John Kennedy out of Louisiana, the place is just like deadly quiet because he's calling them out. He's calling them out and he's saying how absurd it is that you're screaming about Elon Musk when the reality is that the American people are screaming at this kind of spending.
What the hell happened to all the money? What the hell happened to all the money? And that's what Mr. Musk is finding out. That's all this is about. And I'm just shocked that my colleagues have decided that this is a hill they're going to die on. Yes. How can you look the American people in the eye and support this kind of waste, support this kind of spending porn?
That's the thing. But as I've said over and over again, please, Democrats, keep screaming. We've got the midterms coming up. And so the more that we find, and he went through, and I think, he went through the litany, all the things that USAID has been funding, and we've all heard the list by now. We know that the whole thing is abhorrent. We know that these things are ridiculous. One of the things that I said the other day was if you found some sort of a Democrat enclave and, go to Chicago, go to Philadelphia, go to Los Angeles, and you start going down the list of all of the things that these Democrats have spent money on during particularly the Biden administration under USAID, and just ask the Democrats in these cities if they approve of these specific expenditures. I guarantee you they're going to say no.
I think he'll end up finding that some of our money is being well spent, but he's also going to find that some of our money is being stolen and it's being wasted. And that's an insult to every taxpayer in this country.
Yep.
So I'm going to end like I began. We ought to be giving Mr. Musk a medal. We ought to be thanking him. Maybe nobody else wants to hear about this spending porn. but I can't wait to read the book. I hope he finds all of it and compiles it. I hope Marco Rubio, our new Secretary of State, takes USAID and shakes them by the shoulder and lifts up the good people there and fires the bad people.
Absolutely. We've got a lot more straight ahead, including how is it that Elon Musk even focused on USAID? It's really a story about not only Elon Musk, but about how our own media and our own, air quoting, journalists have failed the American people and freedom of the press. Details straight ahead at 8:16 on Super Talk 99.7. So part of the whole story of USAID is about how they have been basically subsidizing Politico, the BBC. Joan, you're going to have to help me.
The
Politico,
New York Times.
BBC, the New York Times. And I think those are the big three,
The
are
big
they
three.
not?
Yeah, there's so many others. There's allegedly there's at least 700 media outlets and 2,700 journalists
So
getting direct payments.
we'll go ahead and air quote the word journalists because they're not journalists. And so
Correct.
they're narrative peddlers.
Can we get some of this?
We don't want any of that.
Well,
Joan,
I got
Joan,
rent.
thank you for saying it for all of us. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
need the money. I don't care.
We got to get KGB a raise. Anyway,
And some scruples.
so here,
That's the adjective you would use.
Yeah.
so here's the question. Here's the question. How did Elon Musk find out about all of this? It wasn't through those, what did you say, Joan? 700 or so? No, 2,700 journalists that
Correct.
were supposedly on the payroll. They found it through an interview with, Elon Musk found it through an interview with Joe Rogan. Not the New York Times, not the Washington Post, not the BBC, but through Joe Rogan. And this interview with a guy named Mike Benz, and it is incredible what the guy has to say. Because he has to say a lot about what is going on and what has been going
There's no
on
aid in USAID.
in USAID. And now that my computer's going to play.
There's no aid in USAID, by the way. That's your brain is being tricked when you see the phrase USAID. It's not an aid organization. The aid in USAID stands for U.S. Agency for International Development. It is developing internationally around the world all of the institutions that the State Department needs to use. So when they are capacity building activist groups in a foreign country, that's because the State Department wants those activists there.
That's exactly right. I mean, listen, and I don't want to regurgitate the same thing over and over again. We know what's going on. But we're talking about regime change. My opinion, we're talking about money laundering, and we're talking about trying to spread this insanity of transgender policies and politics across the world. And it is crazy. And John Kennedy is absolutely right that for the people who are screaming, the people on the left who are yelling about Elon Musk and what he's doing, they're only digging their own grave.